the function and the role level, so that when people join, they have projects that they can immediately work on and they understand what their role is in that space. So the link between recruiting and actually being an active member of the team is one that I'm focusing a lot on right now. And then the other piece is around communication and information loss. So now that the team is bigger and more complex, we need to ensure that information is moving upward and coming from the top down in an effective and consistent way. And nothing is being lost. I think one of the things that can happen in an organization as it grows, when it goes rapidly, is folks can hear what is happening, but yet not get the information about why it's happening. And when that occurs, it's really problematic, because you've got folks who are trying to execute on something and they don't have the full context as to what the outcome, like what the reason for this outcome is. So I'm sure I could have said that in a better way, but
no, that's great. But what I'm really curious about is, what is your plan to deal with that?
So we've created a system pretty recently, maybe two months ago, that's oriented around understanding which communications are most critical and who needs to know about what. So it's a system that has like a lead or a project manager. So the project manager receives information about various issues that folks across the company feel need to be raised. And then the project manager works with the person who's submitted this notification or information on understanding what the right avenues are. Is it Slack? Is it an all-team meeting? Is it a meeting with a select group of people? And then they help escalate. They also help with the messaging itself. And then we do kind of reviews of how various communication cycles have gone. We're pretty new at this, so we're working on how that's going to work.
I mean, that sounds pretty involved. I mean, on the one hand, it sounds really valuable because, like you said, there's it's really important for people to understand why they're doing something, what's the purpose, what's the reason, so that they're not kind of like robots just fulfilling some mindless task, that there's some purpose to what they're doing. At the same time, it takes work to communicate that purpose. I mean, all the systems that you just mentioned to have in place, I mean, that takes a lot of effort. How do you make sure that you get buy-in from everybody who needs to put in that effort to make sure that it gets done?
One of the ways that we've gone about thinking through getting buy-in is understanding the potential costs of not having a system like this. So to some extent, we've been through what it's like not having this, and we've also experienced the inflection point where it's become a necessity through some information loss. So we have that as a basis to say, like, hey, remember when we didn't share this with people and no one knew what was going on and we had all of these issues? And then I think that the other piece is that it provides direct and tangible value to the person who's doing the action. In this case, it's like the person who has the information that they want shared, because we're giving that person help, right? Like, they have help figuring out how to craft that message. They have help figuring out where to put that message. And then they have kind of the insurance of, I went through the proper channels to try and get everyone on the same page about this. So I think it provides the support and a comfort that is in itself a deliverable and like makes people want to do it. Now, if we had this system and it made everything worse, then we probably wouldn't be able to keep it going,
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Now, if there was a takeaway from everything that you just mentioned, a lesson that our listeners could take and apply to their companies, what do you think that would be?
Perhaps it would be to be flexible and to be responsive.
What do you mean by that? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I think that at least within my space, I know that you interview people in lots of different areas of focus, but within my space, I feel like it's really critical to be very focused on the teams themselves and what it is that they need, and to be responsive to those needs. I think that whatever you're doing, whether you're designing a compensation approach or you're thinking through the behaviors or the values of your organization, you should really shape those choices with the people themselves in mind. And if you have a rigid view and you're focused and fixated on that, you're probably not going to get to the best solution, because there's wisdom in the collective experience of these things, and folks should draw on that. You've got this resource that's available to you all the time, and if you're not drawing on that, then you're probably falling short of what's possible.
So that actually touches on a question that I also wanted